When two parties are negotiating, the final agreement usually favors the party who's more prepared. When you prepare, you gain knowledge and insight that you can leverage to your advantage. It also helps your questions to be more effective, your proposals to be more compelling, and your moves to be more methodical. When you're well prepared, you're less likely to be manipulated by tactics. So preparation is important. But how do you do it? A simple four-step process can help you better prepare for your next negotiation. Get into their head. Plan your moves. Predict their moves. Manage their expectations. Getting in the other party's head means trying to think about the negotiation from their view, both a business and a personal perspective. To do this, you'll want to start by gathering answers for questions like, what's their overall objective? What are their specific needs, issues, pressures, or drivers? What's their timeline? What's their relationship like with other suppliers, including your competitors? And where might the balance of power for this negotiation be in their mind? It's also a good idea to continue the personal communication style preferences of all parties involved. Start by using a grid to plot all the features of your offer and link them to your customer's needs, as if you were the customer, making a rating on a scale between 1 and 10. You'll do this on the x-axis for how much they value each entry, and then on the y-axis for how unique each is when compared to alternatives. This helps you estimate your customer's priorities and interests. Next, assess your power. These 8 questions can be remembered by the acronym No Tricks. 1. Who needs this agreement more? Who will gain the most if the deal happens? 2. Who has the better walkaway options, or BATNA? 3. Who is under the most time pressure? 4. How is Henkel's relationship with the customer? 5. Who has more resources invested so far? Meetings, man-hours, testing, and so forth. 6. Who's the more credible party? Reputation of being fair and honorable. 7. Who has more knowledge about the situation? 8. Who's the more skillful negotiator? You can answer these questions objectively by a little or by a lot. And if there's a tie, you say it's mutual. The output helps you realize that you have more power than you thought. Lastly, consider each person with whom you may negotiate. Consider their preferred communication style by using the DISC model. Write down the things you'll try to focus on and things you'll try to avoid. These exercises will help you get in their head. We'll cover steps 2 and 3 together. Planning your moves and anticipating theirs begins with deciding what kind of negotiation you think this is likely to be. Will it be collaborative or competitive, or somewhere in between? You should have a good read on this if you've done step 1. If your customer acknowledges your value, price seems to be less important, the project is complex, or there's a high level of interdependence, both parties need each other, then your negotiation is likely to be more collaborative in nature. But if your customer is focused on price and dismissive of value, or the project is relatively simple and there's either no dependence or high one-way dependence, then your negotiation is likely to be more competitive in nature. Of course, we'd all like to be able to negotiate collaboratively because it's less confrontational with fewer negative emotions coming into play. The level of trust is higher. Complementary interests create more room to be creative in your proposals because there's more variables to work with. But very often, customers will pull you into a competitive negotiation even if you have a great relationship. Competitive negotiations usually have a single focus, your price, and they're more likely to use tactics to manipulate you. The good news is, planning your moves for a competitive negotiation is actually pretty simple. Write out your situation and your BATNA, or best alternative to a agreement. You might have more than one. Make notes about your competitor. Write out several CNAs or consequences of no agreement. Write down your opening position. That's usually the price you quoted in your proposal. Then write in your walk-away position. That's the price below which you simply will not do business. Having a target is optional. Estimate the same for the customer. This gives you the foundation from which all your moves can be planned. Enter your opening position and then calculate each move you'll make all the way down to your walk-away point. Consider carefully whether you'll speak in terms of percentages, annual cost, or unit price, as larger numbers may have a psychological effect. Each move should be made in even smaller increments. Use non-round numbers because they seem more legitimate and final to the other party. Lastly, consider things that the customer may ask for that you know you can't agree to, and write out your responses appropriately. This can really help you avoid negotiation tactics such as the red herring or the Columbo. If your negotiation feels like it's going to be collaborative, that's great. It means your customer is likely to use fewer tactics on you, and the atmosphere should be less uncomfortable. But it also means your preparation will be more intensive. As before, fill in your situation, BATNAs, competitor notes, and CNAs. But this time, we need to brainstorm the variables we have to work with other than price. Again, estimate the start, target, and walk-away points for both parties. Now things get more complicated. Using the variables you brainstormed previously, select and prioritize them in terms of what you and your customer want. Describe each variable and give it a value rating. Try to quantify the value so that you can make comparisons. Use these prioritized variables to craft proposals. Try to match up things that are of high value to one party and which are low cost or low risk to the other party. Lastly, set up a dedicated moves tracker and plan out a few of your initial moves. The final step in preparing for a negotiation is to manage the expectations. This involves creating the climate that you want to exist by the time the negotiation will happen. Plan out the steps you need to take to lay the groundwork with all the key players. Make yourself as indispensable as you can. Be proactive and take control as much as you can. So there you have it. 4 steps to prepare for any negotiation. Start early and give yourself plenty of time because your success will correlate to your preparation.